is NTV Weekend Edition with Edmond Nyabola.
Welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language interpreter tonight is David Agondoa. Now, church leaders are calling on government agencies charged with the responsibility of fighting corruption to fulfill their mandate to ensure that all assets recovered from suspects are used for the benefit of the public. This is the message that they passed on Good Friday as faithful commemorated the crucifixion and death of Jesus Christ. NTV's Helen Wanjohi has more.
The head of the Anglican Church in Kenya, Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit, pointed out that it is unfortunate that there have been reports on mega corruption scandals and that the vice is also taking root.
We call on all government agencies charged with the responsibility of fighting corruption to implement their mandate with diligence, promptness, and impartiality and courage. We further demand that corruption cases be expedited and those found culpable to be brought to justice.
Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit added that the church is grieved and disturbed by the sudden increase in the number of homicides and suicide cases among Kenyans.
Although Kenya is known to be a religious nation, it is gradually becoming a socially dysfunctional state with little regard for Christian values and the sanctity of human life. We urge all Kenyans to respect human rights and embrace amicable ways of conflict resolution.
Archbishop Martin Kivuva, who was speaking in Mombasa, is appealing to the government and other relief agencies to increase their humanitarian assistance to the drought-affected population until the situation normalizes.
Nchi yetu ina mengi tunayaombea, manyunyu haya tukumbusha tunaombea mvua. Manyunyu haya tuombea kuna kwingi kuna shida ya maji na njaa kwa sababu hawajapata maji.
As faithful celebrate Good Friday, it is a tradition to practice the way of the cross, in which participants walk a distance as they pause to reflect on the last moments of Christ's journey. The way of the cross is a call to the faithful to think of how Jesus sacrificed himself. As the faithful are praying, they imagine themselves walking with Jesus on this journey as they reflect on whatever is going on in their lives today. After the walk, one of the participants volunteered themselves and is clothed with a blood-stained cloth and later nailed on a makeshift cross to reenact the crucifixion of Christ. On Good Friday, faithful remember the day Jesus willingly suffered and died as the ultimate sacrifice for sin. Helen Wanjohi, NTV.
And staying with the celebrations, thousands of Christian pilgrims and clergy members marched through the ancient stone alleys of Jerusalem's old city, retracing Jesus' path to crucifixion in observation of Good Friday. And Catholics in the Philippines have marked Good Friday with ritual crucifixions and other blood-soaked reenactments of the suffering of Jesus Christ. NTV's Rose Wangoi has more details.
Carrying wooden crosses and singing hymns, Christians held a procession in the old city of Jerusalem on Good Friday, retracing what they believe is the route that Jesus Christ took to his crucifixion. Worshippers who followed the Western calendar began the Easter festival of Good Friday with a procession through the Via Dolorosa to the church where Christians believe Jesus was buried before rising up from the dead 3 days later. The pilgrims stopped at several points on the way, reenacting symbolic moments from Jesus' story. The first station is where Jesus was believed to have been condemned to death. The last is the tomb where Christians believe he was buried. At least 9 devotees were nailed to wooden crosses in the northern Philippines on Good Friday. The annual festivities attract thousands of people but are frowned upon by the Catholic Church, which insists the crucifixion of Jesus Christ need not to be repeated. 2 men and a woman, Mary Joy, who was praying for good health, and her mother's recovery from illness, were also crucified. Elsewhere in Mexico, Catholic faithful descended on the colonial city of Taxco to perform the traditional and highly devotional procession of the flagellants and the crucified, which marks the highlight of the Holy Week. In the procession, faithful wore black hoods to mark the somber occasion ahead of Jesus' crucifixion. Some self-flagellate, others carry large locks to resemble the cross, and others chain their ankles. The Cathedral of Santa Prisca has been the beginning and end point of the processions in Taxco since 1949, when the event was first officially celebrated. Pope Francis washed and kissed the feet of 12 prisoners on Thursday at a traditional service, telling them to shun any inmate, hierarchy structure, or law of the strongest, but to help each other instead. The pontiff traveled this year to a prison about 40 kilometers south of Rome. Francis explained to the inmates who gathered for the mass in a simple room used as a theater that in the times of Jesus, washing the feet of visitors was the job of slaves and servants. It was the 5th time since his election in 2013 that he held the service, which commemorates Jesus' gesture of humility toward his apostles on the night before he was crucified.
Well, not so much of a Good Friday for some. 4 people have died in separate accidents at Salga and Kabati in Nakuru and Kiambu counties. The accidents coming at a time when police and the National Transport Safety Authority made their presence felt along Kenyan highways in an operation meant to ensure motorists comply with road safety regulations. NTV's Helen Aura with more.
This was the situation at Kabete roadblock along the busy Wayaki highway as police and National Transport and Safety officials inspected vehicles that were in transit to Western Kenya and Rift Valley regions. Many motorists do not mind the delay occasioned by the checks, saying safety was a bigger concern.
Operationally umesaidia juu today being a holiday, unapata watu wanaweza engage recklessly kunywa, so the operation at least inasaidia accidents.
Bila kukuambia umekimbia ama umeenda kinyume cha vinawaziri kuna kwa barabara, unastahili kusikiza huyo abiria na umheshimu na ufanye venye anakuambia, kama kwa sababu hawezi kukuambia kitu yenye hujafanya.
Today's crackdown was in response to a directive issued by Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutiambai, whose Easter message was a caution to Kenyans to comply with road safety regulations during this Easter period, issuing a stern warning to those found culpable of defying transport laws. Passengers were sensitized on the importance of using the NTSA application, as they could use it to raise concerns about drivers' misconduct and verify the validity status of the vehicle to be used for travel.
Giving them access to a mobile application that they can actually report any incidents on the road and as they move. So they just download the app and ensure that they report any incidences, and apart from that, Salmini records any incidences by itself, records any overspeeding, overlapping, etc.
Now there are about 5 cases that we have detected since morning, and we are still here going on till evening. Let's conform to law. The members of the public, once we are in a public vehicle or rather in a private car, ensure that the safety regulations are being observed. To the drivers, let's drive while we are very sober. Don't drive while you're very drunk.
The operation is set to continue till Tuesday. Members of the public want the government to carry out such operations regularly to ensure safety is maintained. But even as enforcement of traffic laws happened, a truck driver died in Salga after his truck was rammed by another one that had veered off the road, causing it to plummet down a steep decline. 3 people died at Kabati area in Kiambu County as a trailer lost control and rammed a private vehicle. Several people were injured in the accident, with bodies of the deceased taken to Thika General Cargo Mortuary. The injured were taken to Thika Level 5 Hospital.
As hundreds of passengers made their way to go celebrate with their loved ones during this Easter holiday, NTSA maintains that it shall seal all loopholes to ensure that cases of road carnage decrease in the nation. Helen Aura, NTV.
To some more sad news, Likoni Deputy OCS Job Omondi killed himself Thursday night after shooting dead his alleged lover in Mombasa County. Witness accounts reveal that the officer shot his girlfriend in the head before turning the gun on himself. The 25-year-old woman was rushed to the Coast General Hospital but succumbed to the bullet wounds, as NTV's Mel Miendo reports.
The situation in Mtongwe location following events that occurred on Thursday night. An all too familiar story. A police officer turned killer shooting his alleged lover and committing suicide.
Sistangu akamwambia, "Mbona unatuambia tusimere ndio? Kuna shinda gani?" Akasema, "Nimesema msimere ndio." Mimi ni mkubwa hapa. Jamaa ukaanza kufiatua marisasi. Yakapiga sister yangu risasi ya kichwa.
We try to rescue the life of the lady by rushing her to specialized treatment in Mombasa, but unfortunately she succumbed to the injuries.
Job Omondi, the officer who was Likoni's deputy OCS, was in civilian clothes at the time of the incident. Residents are still trying to understand just what could have caused him to pull the trigger.
Wale walikuwa na kunywa naye pombe ambayo walisema kwamba leo lazima nifanye kitu kwa lugha ya nyumbani.
The incident was reported at Sokomjinga in Mtongwe location, close to 3 kilometers north of the Likoni police station where Omondi was based. Residents now urging the government to pay close attention to the personal lives of police officers on the ground.
Hawa ikiwezekana maafisa wetu waweze kupelekwa kwenye vile mahali ya kupelekwa kupena anasa, maana inaweza kuwa mtu amesongwa na mawazo na uwezo kujua pengine alikuwa na depression mahali pengine na amekuja tu kuimalizia hapa.
Sasa sisi raia tutakimbilia wapi? Kama kimbilio letu ni polisi na polisi ndio wanatumaliza, tufanye nini? Kwa hiyo serikali ituangalie sisi raia kwanza, hasa kina mama.
Police recovered Omondi's firearm, a Seska pistol with 11 rounds of ammunition at the scene. Investigations into the matter are currently ongoing. Mel Miendo, NTV.
Now, residents in most parts of Uasin Gishu County, especially in Eldoret town, have been asked to brace for water rationing set to start in a few weeks. This is according to the Eldoret Water and Sanitation Company Limited. The body in charge of water supply has attributed water shortage in the area to reduced water levels in the 2 major dams that supply the town with the precious commodity. Eunice Omolo has that report in a short while. This coming, of course, at a time when there are no there's no rainfall, I should say, and the weatherman, of course, saying we should brace for even hotter temperatures as we wait for the long rains. And of course this has affected the country in ways of drought, food security. A crisis is looming at this moment in time. Of course farmers as well complaining in Eldoret and Uasin Gishu, which is Kenya's traditional food basket. Let's take that story now.
Estates within Eldoret town have already begun feeling the pinch of doing with less or no water at all. Residents of Mwanzo Estate have already become familiar with the search for water, a valuable commodity that has become scarce. The pursuit of an available and clean water source has drawn residents to this water point. Others, in order to reduce numerous trips, have come to the water source to do their domestic chores and also feed their animals.
Tunategemea hapa na ya tap ikikuja ni mara mbili kwa mwezi, mara moja kwa wiki baada ya wiki mbili. Sasa tunategemea hapa tukuje tufue hapa, tuchote kidogo tupeleke kwa nyumba, hii ndio tutachemsha tukunywe, hii ndio tutegemea tena tuoge nayo kila kitu.
Sadly, matters are getting worse as water rationing is expected to begin in a few weeks' time.
Ukikuja unapata watu wamejaa na tunaanza kupigania maji. Sasa tumeona tukuje saa hii mchana watu wamepungua kidogo, ndio kwa maana tumekuja mchana.
According to Eldoret Water and Sanitation Company Limited, water shortage in the area is due to the effects of the drought, which has affected 2 major dams that supply water to the town. The 2 rivers and the Legirini dams have reached critical levels. Some residents have been trying to find alternative ways to get their private boreholes to no avail.
But unfortunately, Eldoret is a place of hard rock. You only dig about 10-15 feet. It's hard rock. You have not reached the water. I've personally tried to dig that hole. It's around 16 meters where it reached. It's hard rock that cannot be done by any human being.
Uasin Gishu County has been experiencing a deficit of 20 million liters of water per day, and the rationing will worsen the situation. Eunice Omolo, NTV.
And to a related story to that, the reality of the delayed long rains and the likelihood of total crop failure is a big challenge for farmers in the North Rift, Kenya's traditional food basket. Several farmers are staring at reduced yields and increased costs of production following the prolonged drought that has seen the crop wilt or fail to germinate altogether. NTV's Gabriel Kudaka has more.
Jeremiah Ruto walks us through his 30-acre parcel of land in Kabiet within Nandi County, where he planted maize about 1.5 months ago. Under normal circumstances, this would be a lush green field covered with maize. Currently, the field is bare with just a few withered maize plants, courtesy of the prolonged dry spell.
It will force us to replow na tupande. Sababu ukiona growth percentage ya hii mahindi ni kitu kama 10% per acre, which will not be, it is not sustainable.
Some of the seeds have rotten, whereas others failed to germinate due to harsh conditions. Ruto, like many farmers in this region, plans to replant once the heavens open. Most farmers are worried that the yield would drop drastically this season.
Ikiendelea hivi, tukiwachilia hivi, then we shall be expecting less than even 1 bag or 2 bags per acre. Against 30, an average of 30 to 35 bags tumekuwa tukipata the other years.
They want the government to help ease their burden by further subsidizing the cost of fertilizer and seeds as they prepare for replanting.
Tunaomba serikali akate hiyo pay ya fertilizer kabisa. Kwanza fertilizer hiyo 1,000 hata.
In an adjacent 10-acre farm, Ruto planted a few crops early in the month of March, which somehow survived, recording about 100% growth. But they have started turning pale blue due to the sweltering heat. A fall armyworm invasion has also dealt him another blow.
Tayari it is affected by the army fallworms, na tena hii mahindi iko na shida ya mvua. So vile unaona vile iko sasa, hii hatuwezi rudia. Hii hakuna kurudia. Ni mvua tu, mvua ikikuja, hii mahindi inaweza pona.
Ruto says he has spent over 1 million shillings in preparation and planting of his farms. Farmers are now calling on the government to roll out a national insurance cover for their crop as a mitigation measure against such unforeseen eventualities. Gabriel Kudaka, NTV.
Now, the Kihara Sub-County Hospital continues to cause even more grief for parents of children who lost their limbs after botched vaccinations. Today, the families reported to the hospital to meet a medic who has been pursuing them, but when they got there was no one to attend to them. Instead, the two families were treated rudely and harassed by staff. Charity Mwangi is staying on that story.
They enthusiastically walked to the hospital hoping for a resolution to a stalemate that to them is easy to resolve. They blended in looking like parents seeking clinic services just as they had when they brought in their children for jabs that proved more harmful than helpful. Baba Ambrose consulted with his comrade Baba Austin, and to his surprise, the same olive branch had not been extended to him, and so he took it upon himself to have him attend the meeting.
Hapana Joyce, si wewe ndio tuliongea na wewe tena na namba yako. Kennedy Mumo, baba ya mtoto, aliniambia ni Kiambu County Health Officer na nafuatilia hii case na file za mtoto zionekani. Nikamwambia niko na hiyo ile kabarua ile tunapeangwa tukiingia, na iko na mpaka namba. Nikamsomea, wakatafuta, wakasema wameipata. So baadaye ndio Joyce alianza kunipigia. Huyu amesimamia clinics hapa. Akanipigia, tukaongea, akiniuliza maswali mingi, akaniambia nikuje tuonane. Nikamwambia sitaweza on Thursday, so on Friday ndio tu ningepata time.
But when they got to the hospital in a case of adding salt to an already open wound, no one was there to receive them. But instead,
wenye walikuwa wameita Baba Ablos hatujawapata. Actually soldiers, they are very rude. Hakuna conducive environment kwetu. Hata tuko tumekuja kwa ubaya. Tulikuwa tumekuja kusikia venye Baba Ablos anaambiwa, na tusikie mbona wanaita Baba Ablos. na hawaniiti mimi mwenyewe kama mzazi wa Joroge.
They say they will not tire in their quest for justice for their children, but they caution the window for resolution by way of dialogue is quickly closing.
Ningependa hatua ichukuliwe, wafanye uchunguzi. Daktari mwenye alidunga huyu mtoi na huyu mwingine shindano anajijua na anatembea vizuri na anakula vizuri na anaishi life poa pali yako. Uchunguzi ifanyike. Daktari akishikwa asimamie gharama, cause huyu mtoi so far tukiongea bili ya Gertrude ilikuwa 2 million. Already nimelipa 2 million. Na bado kuna pesa ingine ya mguu kwenda kukato. Hizo expenses zote zenye tumetumia wagaramie na wachukue full responsibility ya mtoi.
Hakuna haja ya waste time na mtu angeenda huko atafuta kibarua at least apate kitu ya kuhudumia mtoto.
For now, they return home a disappointed lot in the hospital and their leaders who remain mum to their situation. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
Quite unfortunate. We hope the families there get justice. We take our first short break on NTV Weekend Edition. When we come back, we tell you about a new title for Migori's neglected gem. Don't go too far.
Welcome to Daycare Bustani. Pride.
Now, it was launched with great pomp and color, and all with the intention of improving the lives of millions of Kenyans. But nearly a year and a half later, the Jubilee government's Big Four agenda is in dire straits. The housing fund levy has been opposed. The country is facing a food shortage, while the universal health coverage seems to have hit a snag. NTV's Silas Apollo examines the Big Four agenda.
That is why over the next 5 years, my administration will move to create 500,000 new homeowners.
This was President Uhuru Kenyatta laying down his government's plan to spur growth in the country, all wrapped up in 4 pillars of food security, affordable housing for all, universal health coverage, and manufacturing. Things, however, are not going according to plan, if the current state of affairs is anything to go by. The proposed housing fund levy, which proposes the construction of homes for Kenyans at a cost of 1.5% of their basic salary, faces stiff opposition. Then there's a looming crisis after the rains failed, and not much has become of the universal health coverage, whose pilot project was launched in 3 counties.
Food security, health, and housing. Those are functions of devolved functions. So you look at when these things were crafted by the national government itself, the Jubilee administration, first counties were not involved in the crafting of this policy. So it creates a problem in terms of a systemic support, in terms of seeing this project going through, in terms of involving stakeholders who are part of this.
Watima, an economist who's written on the Big Four agenda before, says Kenyatta is also a victim of a hunger to leave a legacy, which he says has informed some of his rash decisions and plans.
Legacy is a verdict with history. It's not you to decide how people remember you. And so we're seeing that most taxes were introduced in the 2018 Finance Act was to finance the Big Four agenda. So you cannot bring a legacy, you tax people so that you finance your legacy. Because essentially your legacy will be about the taxes itself that you've brought. It will not be about the things you accomplish.
Those opposed to the housing fund levy are accusing the government of failing in public participation. Some, such as the Central Organization of Trade Unions, have also questioned whether the project will benefit those outside formal employment. The government, on the other hand, has remained adamant, assuring that all concerns raised will be addressed.
Even in rural areas, we will still finance you because you still need to finance you to get a house. The contributions that you're making allows us to provide mortgages at 3% for those who are in the social housing. You spoke about categories. We have classified Kenyans based on income. So social housing earning less than 20,000, you get 3% interest, 25 years to pay.
The delayed rains have also exposed what some critics have termed as the underbelly of poor planning by the government and failed promises. At least 13 counties are currently facing a food crisis, 4 of which are classified as critical. The food crisis has been blamed on failed mega projects like the Galana Kulalu, despite the government pumping in billions of shillings.
We read the kind of monies that has been plowed into that particular project. It's mind-boggling, and the returns very minimal.
Some critics have argued that the top-down approach by the government on the implementation of the Big Four agenda is much to blame for the little success. While it may be too early to gauge the successes and failures of the Jubilee government's 4 pillars of development, it is not in doubt that going forward, consultations and proper planning will be key. Silas Apollo, NTV.
Now to the story I told you about. A 500-year-old historical landmark, Thimlich Ohinga in Migori County, has been bestowed as a World Heritage Site by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. You might know that as UNESCO. The dry stone wall structure has been abandoned for decades. NTV's Bernardo Juang reports that Thimlich Ohinga is now the 7th in the country to attain the international status, putting Kenya second among nations with most recognized monuments in Africa after South Africa, which is leading with 10.
Having been neglected for a long time, Thim Lichohinga, an archaeological site in Nyatike, Migori County that was built in the 14th century, has been officially marked an international heritage site. The dry stone wall structure was gazetted a national monument in 1981.
We are very happy because we are going to get a lot of things, including the road network, the electricity network.
If the government continues to do this, then more employment opportunities shall be created.
Both county and national government have plans to channel resources towards improving the face of this site to attract more tourists who have been passing through Migori County heading to the neighboring country Tanzania.
And I want to declare that the journey of improving this site has just begun. Kama ni barabara tutalima sawasawa, si ndio? Na tutashirikiana na national government ili tupate hata ile ya lami. My government plans to expand that airstrip and the Makalda airstrip to act as dispersal and collection points for tourists destined for the Thim Lichohinga and those other sites that I've mentioned.
Thim Lichohinga is now the 7th site in the country to be recognized internationally as a heritage site. The Migori County government has plans to open more roads leading here as local investors are urged to engage in measures to attract other foreign investors.
To invest here, you will be seeing a lot of visitors coming here. You will be seeing a lot of scientists, a lot of archaeologists will be coming here. Where will they come and stay? Watakula chakula wapi? Watakunywa chai wapi?
Kama serikali unaweza kukuja kujenga nyumba hapa, watalii unaingia hapa, unaweza kusaidia wa jamaa yetu. Kwa maana wageni akiingia hapa unapata biashara, unaleta vitu yote, unakuja kuona vitu yetu kama hii koti, ama mkuki, ama kofia, ama gara.
Migori County Governor Zachary Okothobad, who attended the event, pledged to plant more trees through the Ministry of Water starting November this year and to connect the site with electricity.
If we are really sincere that we want to conserve our culture and environment, the varieties that have disappeared, the indigenous varieties, are what we need to reintroduce here.
Residents point at employment opportunities and opening up the rural area through good roads as some of the things they could benefit from if investors take business opportunities that are available. Bernardo Juang, NTV, Thim Lichohinga in the county of Migori.
A destination for holiday goers and the adventurers in Kenya to visit. Now, the Ilchamus community from Baringo South could well have come up with a solution for many who have had difficulties conceiving. It is unorthodox and not scientifically proven, but by taking amniotic fluid mixed with fat from a female sheep that is pregnant, of course, there are many who are now celebrating their motherhood.
Technology has helped many families get round difficulties of childbirth through interventions such as in vitro fertilization. But that has cost implications not manageable by all. However, the people of Eldume in Baringo South seem to have an answer. The Sachata e Enker is an Ilchamus traditional ceremony that combines two crucial events. A particularly interesting one involves this sheep. Oblivious that its death is imminent, but a death that would lead to life. Quite coincidental that this comes during Easter. Carefully handpicked from a morally upright member of the Ilchamus community, this ewe or female sheep has to be pregnant. The day prior to this ceremony, this ewe has to undergo a cleansing ceremony.
Lazima isabishwe hiyo kondoo na hiyo masiwa, sabishwe na hiyo maratina, ndio itakuwa hiyo kondoo imekolpa hiyo kasi ya kufanyiwa. Haiwezi kolpa bila hizo vitu.
Once slaughtered, the ewe's amniotic fluid would then be mixed with fried fat from its tail, and that concoction in small spoonful portions given to women. Millicent Lelebo testifies that after 10 years of trying to conceive, she took the concoction and it helped.
Na tumeona kwa mila zetu sote ya Ilchamus, tumefanya hivyo na tumeshapata mtoto. Hata mimi ni mmoja hawa na nimebarikiwa na ninashukuru Mungu sana.
That's not all. Another celebration that takes place today is what you would describe as getting down. Or time to get lit, quite literally. Muranis from the Ilkharao age set group get to dance with their wives in public, something that is almost taboo unless it happens at such a function that takes place every 10 years. Next party should be going down in 2029, perhaps with more siblings from this Ilchamus community, hoping the concoction taken will help. Mark Masai, NTV.
Quite a strange ritual there, but if it works, well, good for them. To a bit of politics now. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has condemned the rampant, I should say, theft of public funds in the country, saying it is hurting the economy. Kalonzo was speaking in where he called on President Uhuru Kenyatta to escalate the ongoing war on graft.
Na unajua Kenya kuna wezi. Wanaiba hata 7 billion shillings ni kama pocket change. Wezi. Lakini hiyo sio ambayo imenileta leo, kwa sababu vita hivyo vile vile ni lazima vishindwe. Tusiposhinda vita hivyo, mimi mwenyewe nilimwambia ndugu Uhuru Kenyatta, if you blink on this war against corruption, utakuwa umeharibu legacy yako kama kiongozi wa nchi. And I know he's spot on kwa mambo haya.
Let's take another short break. When we come back, we have some international news for you. 13 people have been killed in a southeastern province of South Africa during an Easter service after a church wall collapsed on them following days of heavy rains and strong winds. At least 29 people with injuries ranging from serious to minor were taken to hospital for treatment, according to KwaZulu-Natal Emergency Medical Services. Pictures of the scene on the Emergency Services Twitter page showed bricks and piles of debris strewn across the church floor, with pipes and pillars hanging from higher parts of the building. In Sudan, hundreds of protesters performed the weekly Friday prayers at a sit-in in front of the Defense Ministry complex in Khartoum. The sit-in that began on April 6th outside the Defense Ministry was the culmination of a 16-week-long protest triggered by the economic crisis, leading to President Omar al-Bashir being ousted and arrested after 3 decades in power. And further north, hundreds of thousands of demonstrators returned to Algeria's streets to demand further democratic change, despite former President Abdelaziz Bouteflika's resignation weeks ago. Protesters gathered again in city centers around Algeria, demanding reforms, including crackdowns on corruption and cronyism. And farmers in Kinangop stand to benefit from a processing farm expected to start operations this month with the aim of increasing profitability in potato farming. The initiative may set a precedent on how to encourage agribusiness and improve on food security.
The potato is a popular staple enjoyed in the countryside and in the city, a favorite of many. However, as soon as the crop is ripe and harvested, the environmental elements contribute greatly to its wilting, and soon the value of the very perishable food source is compromised.
Hapa kwetu tuna ugonjwa kama bacterial wilt ambayo inamaliza viazi. Mchanga wetu uko na shida ya potato cyst nematode ambayo tumegundua kutokana na watafiti wa ISIPE, wamepima mchanga na tukaona tuko na shida.
This has made the potato country, that is Nyandarua County, more specifically Kinangop, not to profit from the crop. Their vulnerability is heightened by brokers who take advantage of them.
The exploitation by the middlemen, that is brokers, wanatunyanyasa sana. And that's why tukipata watu ambao wanaweza kutunulia viazi yetu kwa package mzuri, maybe in terms of kilos, tunaweza kuproduce viazi.
That will be in the past, as the winds of change are blowing to the delight of the farmers. A processing farm will begin to operate in the area, and its aim is to add value to the crop and increase profits for the farmers.
And we can produce as many varieties of potatoes as possible. For now, we are starting with chips, bajias, and any shape of potato that a market will require. We are demand driven, I can say that.
Charity Mwangi, NTV.
Let's take another break. When we come back, Warode Kiru has all the sports you need to know this Good Friday.
Blessed Easter to you. I am Warote Kiro. Defending champions Gor Mahia put aside their troubles to reclaim top spot in the Kenyan Premier League despite conceding a late goal to draw 1-1 with Kakamega Homeboys at the Bukhungu Stadium. Kogalo's Nicholas Akip Kirui opened the score in the 40th minute to give Gor a half-time lead, but Alan Wanga broke the Green Army's hearts when he scored a stoppage time equalizer to deny Hassan Oktay's charges all 3 points. Wanga is currently the KPL's top scorer with 14 goals. With a draw, Kogalo now top the log on 45 points, same as second-placed Sofapaka and third-placed Bandari. However, Gor have a better goal difference and 3 games in hand. Out to the magic of the cup and ahead of the Sport Pesa Shield quarter-final ties this weekend, Bungoma Superstars that features in the FKF Zone B National Division 1 League stands out for its slaying of Kenyan Premier League giants. Ida Waringa highlights the side that will now take on defending champions Karabangi Sharks in the quarters, hoping that their Midas touch continues.
Bungoma Superstars players prepping for battle in the Sport Pesa Shield quarterfinals. The little-known team has made a name for itself in this year's edition of the domestic club competition. Bungoma Superstars has already bundled out Kenyan Premier League sides Sofapaka in the round of 32 and AFC Leopards in the round of 16. And the David versus Goliath scenario continues on Sunday when Bungoma look to avenge their 2017 3-2 loss to defending champions Kariobangi Sharks.
Ni tunacheza game moja at a time. Kama weekend Sunday tuna game, tunaomba kushinda.
The club was founded in 1990 but went under shortly thereafter due to financial problems before its revival in 2014. Currently, Bungoma Superstars tops the FKF Zone B National Division 1 League on an unbeaten 13-game run with realistic hopes of promotion to the second-tier National Super League.
Lakini aim yetu kubwa ni timu itoke kwa Division 1 to NSL.
The self-sponsored team faces serious financial challenges. Infrastructure is also an issue with the dusty Masinda Muliro grounds being the only place they can train, while travel to away matches is a struggle.
Boots, wachezaji wenyewe wanajinunulia. Sasa tupata mtu atunulie boots na balls, facilities general tu hatuna.
In other Sport Pesa Shield quarterfinals this weekend, SS Assad take on Congo Boys, while Bandari host Western Steamer in an all-KPL clash on Saturday. Sunday will see KCB of the KPL face off against NSL's Bidco United in Machakos.
On to athletics, and let's celebrate Kenya's future stars. Team Kenya continues to bag medals at the ongoing Africa Under-20 and Under-18 Championships in Abuja, Cote d'Ivoire. Youth Olympics 2,000 meters steeplechase champion Fanis Cherono and Emmanuel Korir Kiplagat are the latest to scoop gold medals. Cherono guided compatriot Karen Chebet to a 1-2 finish in the women's 3,000 meters steeplechase in the Under-20 category. Kiplagat proved untouchable in the boys 3,000 meters final of the Under-18 category. Kenya's tally in the 2 competitions that conclude on Sunday now stands at 22 medals. That is 7 gold, 10 silver and 5 bronze. Now, in years gone by, Kenyans and motorsport lovers across the world enjoyed the world's toughest rally, the Safari Rally, over the Easter holidays. The Safari Rally was last held as part of the World Rally Championship in 2002, and Kenya is working hard to return the event to the WRC in the 2020 season. The Safari Rally was traditionally held over the Easter holidays, and for many Kenyans, Easter was not complete without glimpses of the fast-moving cars that whizzed around the country. The Safari Rally was first held in 1953 as a tribute to the coronation of Queen Elizabeth in 1952. Eric Cecil started the Safari Rally together with his cousin Neil Vincent, and it was dubbed the Coronation Safari Rally between 1953 to 1959. Then from 1960 to 1974, it was dubbed the East African Safari Rally. The Safari Rally became part of the World Rally Championship, WRC, in 1974 and enjoyed a stellar run until 2002. The rally proved to be a delight to young and old alike. Winners like Joginder Singh, Shaka Mehta, Pujon Waldegard, Yuha Kankunen, Ian Duncan, Mickey Biason, and Carlos Sainz became household names. 2002, Colin McRae of Great Britain, navigated by Nicky Grist in a Ford Focus, won the 50th edition of the Safari Rally, which was the last edition to be part of the WRC. 17 years later, and Kenya is currently attempting to navigate itself out of the WRC wilderness. Under the WRC Safari Rally project, this year's edition of the Safari Rally that revs off on Friday 5th July at the Kasarani Stadium will double up as a World Rally Championship candidate event and a round of the Africa Championship.
I can't start the engine anymore.
In keeping with international standards, the safari will be run on closed roads, largely around Naivasha and Elementaita. If it passes the test, the Safari Rally will be included in the 2020 World Rally Championship calendar. And a lot of that footage is courtesy of the WRC, and I know that story has elicited quite a lot of nostalgic memories, and Easter was Easter. The Kenya Hockey Union Premier League continues this weekend, with the highlight being a clash between title holders Butali Sugar Warriors and Kenya Police on Saturday at the City Park Stadium. The match will be the first encounter between the two sides since the final match of the 2018 season, where Butali edged Police 2-1 to win the league on goal difference, thereby dethroning the former champions. The match will also reunite former Police players Calvin Sakanu and Amos Bakbir with their former team after the duo shifted to Butali in the off-season. Of the log with a win over Strathmore University on Sunday. Now, across the borders, under world #1 Novak Djokovic's French Open preparations were dealt a blow after he suffered a 6-3, 4-6, 6-2 defeat by Russian Daniil Medvedev in the Monte Carlo Masters quarterfinals. Djokovic, a two-time champion in Monte Carlo, but do have a lovely night. Nyabola.
Thank you so much, Warodhekiru, with the sports. That's NTV Weekend Edition this Good Friday. I hope you had a good start to the long holiday, which extends to next week on Monday. Do have the rest. Enjoy the rest of it, at least. We're coming up right now is The Trend with Amina Abdi Wapa. Do have a good night. I'll see you again tomorrow night.